It's a hot afternoon. You don't feel like stepping outside. So you pull out your phone, order lunch and a cold drink, and wait for someone to deliver it to your doorstep. But while most of us can escape the heat, delivery riders spend much of their day working in it. I'm standing outside at noon and it's currently 33 degrees Celsius, but it feels like 39. After just a few minutes being outside, I'm already sweating. For many people, this is the time of day when they rather stay indoors. But for delivery riders, lunchtime is often one of the busiest parts of the day as they move between restaurants, roads, and customers under the midday sun. Food deliveries and parcel drop-offs have become part of daily life for many Malaysians, but behind every order is a delivery rider navigating traffic, road hazards, and the heat. Many riders told KiniTV that rising temperatures are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Some said the heat leaves them with headaches and exhaustion. Others said they have grown used to the hot conditions and take short breaks whenever they start feeling unwell.
Dah sangat ekstrim lah. Rasa dah macam panas sangat. Stop je lah. Duduk bawah pokok ke, bawah kedai ke, pam minyak ke.
Dia kalau panas sangat, dia akan attack kat belah bahagian ni tau. Macam kena migraine. So dia akan berdenyut. So bila I bawa, kadang-kadang I bawa motor apa semua, I jadi macam pening lah. So I akan berhenti kejap, I duduk take 5 minit apa semua.
Kalau pening ya, saya makan ubat lah. Dalam seminggu tu 2-3 kali lah macam tu lah. Cuaca sekarang ni tak menentu lah.
To better understand delivery riders' experiences, KiniTV surveyed 51 delivery riders across the Klang Valley between 20th May and 1st June. 90% said working conditions had become hotter in recent years. Their experiences come as Malaysia faces a long-term warming trend. According to data from the Malaysian Meteorological Department, the country's average daily temperature has been rising by about 0.19 degrees Celsius per decade. A recent study also found the land surface temperature, or LST, across Greater Kuala Lumpur has increased significantly, with maximum temperatures rising from 33.05 degrees Celsius to 35.95 degrees Celsius between 1990 and 2023. Yet, not everyone experiences the heat in the same way. 36 respondents shared that they had experienced symptoms such as dizziness, headaches, or unusual fatigue while working in hot weather, while 15 said they rarely or never experience such symptoms. This variation is not surprising. Jason Lee, the director at the Heat Resilience and Performance Center at the National University of Singapore, says one of the challenges with heat is that people can gradually become accustomed to uncomfortable conditions and mistake them for normal, even when their bodies are still under stress.
We have always been living in warm conditions, and therefore we might not realize that we are already being compromised for the longest time. No, we are just like the frogs in the boiling pot. The fire is being turned out very slowly, and then before we know it, we become frog porridge.
But the risks of heat go beyond discomfort alone. In a 2024 working paper examining the public health implications of rising temperatures in Malaysia, Khazanah Research Institute researcher Wan Amirah Wan Usamah found that Malaysia's combination of high temperatures and humidity already places people at risk of heat exhaustion, heat cramps, and heat stroke. Her research also found that prolonged heat exposure can worsen other health issues such as ischemic heart disease, respiratory illnesses, and diabetes.
If, let's say, the rider would already have a pre-existing condition such as diabetes, for example, then being exposed to prolonged heat will worsen their diabetes because it impacts your ability to hydrate and regulate its impact on the kidneys, etc.
This means heat may affect health in ways that are not always immediately visible. Both Lee and Amirah caution that the impact of heat is often difficult to measure as it does not always appear as a heat-related illness on paper. Instead, heat can worsen existing medical conditions or contribute to broader health problems that may be recorded under other diagnoses. As of May this year, the Health Ministry reported 56 heat-related illnesses, including 2 heat stroke deaths, but experts say those figures may only capture part of the picture.
Heat serves as a assault. A lot of these people have existing health condition, and say somebody eventually died of cardiovascular failure. The doctor today will probably diagnose him as cardiovascular failure. But the question is, we didn't ask, or we have no time in the emergency room or no motivation to go and investigate what was the real cause, or we never connect back to the original assault.
In other words, heat can act as a hidden stressor that worsens existing health conditions over time. Yet despite the risk, many riders continue working through the hottest parts of the day. That raises an obvious question. If the weather is becoming increasingly uncomfortable and potentially harmful, why not simply stop and rest? In Malaysia, these workers are commonly known as PHailing riders. They are self-employed workers who obtain delivery jobs through digital platforms such as Grab, Foodpanda, and Shopee Food. According to media reports, Malaysia had 70,000 delivery riders as early as 2021. A 2022's Department of Statistics Malaysia study found that nearly 74% of PHailing riders relied on the sector as their main source of income. One of the main attractions of PHailing work is flexibility. Riders can decide when to log in, when to take a break, and when to call it a day. But flexibility does not necessarily mean it is easy to stop working. Unlike salaried employees, riders are generally paid per completed delivery. The longer they stay offline, the less money they make. Take food delivery as an example. Lunch hours between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. are often the busiest period and also coincide with the hottest time of the day. According to Amirah, this creates a dilemma. The hottest hours of the day are often the most profitable.
For office workers who suddenly feel like it's too hot, I don't really want to work. I don't really want to walk out and get food. They're going to have an added, incentive to go on food delivery platforms. And again, that demand gives an added boost to how much the charge will be and the reward for drivers. So in that sense, it will unintentionally reward drivers for working during very peak heat periods.
Amirah said the payment structure itself can also encourage riders to remain on the road because earnings are tied to completed deliveries. Income often depends on how many jobs can be completed within a given period of time. Gig worker rights advocate Jose Rizal argues that the pressure no longer comes from a human supervisor, but increasingly from algorithms that determine how jobs and incentives are distributed. Earlier this year, Jose and his association, Gabungan E-Hailing Malaysia, received a report of a rider who fainted shortly after completing a delivery. Fortunately, the incident happened after the rider had stopped and not while he was still on the road.
Dulu mungkin pengurus kita ni adalah manusia biasa macam kita yang mungkin faham. Dia ada jiwa lah. Dia boleh faham hujan, dia boleh faham panas. Tapi sekarang ni pengurus yang menjaga rider-rider kita di jalanan ni bukan manusia. Dia adalah sistem yang kita panggil algoritma. Bila algoritma ni memang dia takkan ada perasaan, dia takkan ada jiwa, dia memang takkan boleh faham langsung apa yang di hati benak fikiran manusia ni lah.
This does not mean riders are forced to work. Some riders told KiniTV they would stop when they felt unwell. But the way gig work is structured can make the decision to rest more costly than it first appears. In KiniTV's survey, 31 out of 51 riders strongly agreed that they continued working in the heat because they needed the income. For riders, jobs come through these platforms. But when it comes to managing heat-related risk, the question of responsibility is less clear. Who should protect workers from rising temperatures? Is it the rider, the platform, or someone else entirely? Under Malaysia's Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994, employers are responsible for ensuring the safety and health of their workers. But PHailing riders occupy a grey area. They are generally classified as self-employed workers, yet most of their work is organized through digital platforms. According to Amirah, this makes heat protection for riders particularly difficult to regulate.
So they are then responsible for their own safety, but at the same time, their work is kind of mandated by these platforms as well. So you have these platforms that are giving the rates, the locations, and they also have all these surcharges as well if you're completing a certain task within a certain area. But then you also have the consumers of the platform. So if you and me order Grab, then we are in that contract as well. So there's all these different sort of people that are acting as employers within a gig workers situation.
In fact, Malaysia is not starting from zero. In 2016, the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, or DOSH, introduced its heat stress management guidelines, which recognize heat stress as a workplace hazard and provide recommendations for managing heat exposure. But according to Amirah, implementation remains a challenge.
The strength is that they are really looking at what temperatures gets dangerous for what industries and how much work should be done during those particular temperatures. Where the gap is, again, is enforcement, whether or not these guidelines are enforceable and how do you make sure that this is enforced across all industries. The second, again, is that limited to formal sector employees.
The challenge is even greater for gig workers who often fall outside traditional employer-employee arrangements. Earlier this year, the Gigworkers Act came into force, creating a formal channel for gig workers to file complaints and seek redress over work-related issues. But according to Jose, many details, including those related to occupational safety and health, are still being developed. Some efforts to help riders cope with extreme heat are already underway. Last year, the Selangor government launched the Teduh program, which provides dedicated rest stops, equipped with seating, fans, and charging facilities for PHailing riders. Access to shade may sound simple, but for riders, spending hours outdoors, even a place to rest, cool down, or recharge their phones can make a difference. Yet awareness and usage of these facilities remain limited. In KiniTV's survey, only 13 of 51 riders said they had used a Teduh shelter. Of those, most found it helpful, while nearly half of the respondents were unaware of the program altogether.
Selesa. Sebab kita ada tempat charging port lagi. Boleh charge phone.
The findings suggest that while riders who use the facilities generally find them useful, reaching more riders may be just as important as building the infrastructure itself. For Amirah, facilities such as Teduh are only one part of the solution.
It's a bit unsustainable for the government or the local council to be subsidizing everything, and whether or not we can bring in platforms themselves as being equally responsible for the health and safety of those who are working under that platform, because they are gaining benefit from every job that these workers are doing.
Platforms contacted by KiniTV say they have already introduced measures to help riders cope with extreme heat. Grab Malaysia said it provides in-app safety reminders, driving hour alerts, designated pit stops, and hydration kits through selected merchant partnerships. It also said it communicates with consumers during adverse weather to manage expectations around delivery delays. A Shopee spokesperson said Shopee Food has rolled out heat safety reminders with riders, including advice on hydration and taking breaks when needed. The platform also stressed that riders can choose when to go online, accept deliveries, or take breaks without penalties for remaining offline. While safety measures are important, Jose said fair compensation remains one of the most immediate forms of protection.
Platform yang boleh bantu sebenarnya bayar rider-rider kita dengan adil lah. Itu je kita minta. Kadang-kadang sistem di platform dia tak mengikut kepada jalan yang ada di tempat itu. Mereka kira berdasarkan ukuran pembaris. Daripada sini dia ambil tegak je ukuran dia. Ini masih berlaku lagi ni. So bagi kita, apa yang penting adalah kena jelas. Masa pukul berapa, jarak mana, apa tugas dia. So bayaran tu biarlah yang adil.
Many riders KiniTV spoke to share similar concerns. They say delivery rates have fallen while the cost of living continues to rise.
Kadang ada satu hari saya kerja 8 jam lah satu hari. Hari ni boleh dapat 100, esok belum tentu lagi boleh dapat 100. Fare tu berubah.
Naikkan gaji rider itu adalah salah satu menambahbaikkan dari segi kewangan ekonomi. Kan sekarang you tahu sekarang barang semua dah mahal, minyak mahal.
Benda barang makin naik. Kalau nak bagi fare kena sama naik lah. Ni kalau barang naik, fare turun tak fair lah memang jadi.
For Lee, however, any long-term solution must balance workers' safety with workers' ability to earn a living. Simply asking riders to slow down or stop working during extreme heat may not be realistic if it comes at the cost of their income.
Platform workers are paid by piece, So when the day comes very hot, I issue a warning to my platform workers, say you should slow down because it's super hot. I'm not very confident he or she will take action. Therefore, we must find creative way to protect them, yet not compromising their livelihood.
One proposal being explored internationally is parametric insurance. It remains relatively new and is still being tested in several countries. Instead of compensating workers only after an accident occurs, the scheme provides automatic payouts when temperatures exceed a predetermined threshold. The goal is simple: to give workers some financial support during extreme heat so they can slow down, take breaks, or temporarily stop working without losing all of their income. Similar programs are being piloted in places such as India and Hong Kong, where payouts are triggered when weather conditions become unsafe for outdoor work. Beyond workplace safety, Lee argues that the effects of extreme heat may extend far beyond outdoor workers. If prolonged heat exposure continues unchecked, the costs may eventually be borne elsewhere, including the national healthcare system.
Your health will be compromised. Not just heat stroke death, there are other sites showing us you might not die of heat, but you might have chronic kidney disease of a non-traditional source. We haven't probed other diseases, like diabetes, cardiovascular, respiratory, whether downstream with all this chronic exposure to heat, you are compromising your health. So it might not manifest now, but later your national health system might be paying the health consequences of the damage you have done in your 10-20 years of working in a hot environment.
Several countries have begun treating extreme heat as a national policy issue rather than an individual responsibility. Singapore, for example, recently established a heat resilience policy office to coordinate heat-related planning across ministries. In Malaysia, researchers and labor advocates such as Building and Woodworkers International or BWI are also calling for a more comprehensive national heat action plan that goes beyond weather warnings. Proposals range from stronger worker protections and heat safety standards to better local planning, cooling infrastructure, and public health preparedness. Rising temperatures are no longer only an environmental issue, but a challenge that cuts across health, labor, and economic policy. For now, most riders continue finding their own ways to cope. Some drink more water, some stop and rest under a tree, some enter shopping malls to cool down. Others simply push through.
Banyak minum air, kalau tak boleh, kalau rasa badan tu lain macam, baik stop dululah. Rehat sekejap. Tak perlu kejar-kejar sangat, bahaya.
Macam saya rehat, saya balik rumah. Start pagi, lebih kurang pukul 2, pukul 3. Balik, rehat. Lepas tu pukul 5, start balik sampai malam.
Masuk mall dah. Masuk mall.
Masuk mall.
Ada aircon. Kalau kita ambil order yang dari mall, kita sambil jalan-jalan lah. Orang kata take 5.
Oh, okay.
Itu saya punya cara lah. Rider lain saya tak tahu lah.
These individual adjustments remain the first line of defense, but experts warn that Malaysia is entering a warmer future. Meteorologists say the current El Nino is expected to bring hotter and drier conditions across the region in the coming months, with impacts likely to persist into early next year. During the previous El Nino period in 2024, Malaysia recorded 96 heat-related illness cases and 4 heat stroke deaths as of 12 June that year, according to the National Disaster Management Agency. For delivery riders, working under the sun is not new. What changes is the environment around them. As hotter days are becoming more common, the bigger question is whether the systems around them, from infrastructure to public policy and platform design to worker protections, are prepared for a warmer future.
Tapi untuk saya dah berkeluarga, income kena lebih sikit job ni lah. Contoh pagi wife WhatsApp, malam ni anak minta KFC, saya carilah duit nak beli KFC. Kan kalau kita kerja kilang 1 bulan, nantilah ayah next week gaji baru pergi, betul tak?
Kita tu kita boleh susun untuk apa kita nak buat. So kalau macam side job I ada lebih kurang 3-4 law firm yang I kenal, so I jadi runner dokumen. I can finish it in maybe less than 2 hours, 3 hours, then I get 200, 250, you dah settle job tu. You sambung Grab pun tak ada masalah.
Kalau tak cukup, kita boleh tambah shift tu lah. Lah kerja macam ni memang kira boleh kalau kata freelance jugalah kan. Kalau tak cukup kena pandai-pandai lah kan, cari lebih lagi. Saya ambil macam 4 shift, maybe orang lain 6 shift.
Kalau kerja ni kena rajin lah, jangan malas untuk cari duit. Yelah untuk masa depan juga, untuk beli keperluan apa semua. So itulah nasihat I, rajin jangan tak rajin.